Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Vampyr, Blind. I'm still exploring the Pembroke Hospital, where I have been employed. So let's talk with everyone.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
Do you require medical attention as well, Mrs. Goswick?
I have other concerns right now, Doctor, but I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, let's first...
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Let's first look at the son, I guess. It's kind of rude to, when she goes into the hospital to ask for help, to first bother her with like personal questions instead of helping her with her actual problem.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Yeah, again, it's kind of rude to expect a guy with a throat injury to be telling me his life story.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
Okay, so what are the details? He needs a cure for fatigue. Okay, do I have any?
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Yeah, I guess I don't have this medicine. I need to create it.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Okay, let's talk with her now.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Okay, this is kind of blunt. In general, I'm not a fan of, like, when you recontextualize all of those RPG mechanics with the actual sort of story and setting of the game. Most of RPG protagonists come off as a bit obnoxious, because you're not supposed... I'm a doctor here. I'm not supposed to go around and ask every single person to tell me their life story. Like, if it's pertinent to their medical history, then yeah, sure. But it's kind of irritating, I think, to be bothered by some random guy, like a random doctor, who commands you to tell him about your, I don't know, family situation or what do you do in life. Like, if it doesn't have any relevance to the medical case, then I find it a bit impolite, in fact. But I will ask nonetheless, because, you know, it is a game and I would prefer to have the most information I can.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
A teacher would not necessarily... I don't think it would be a very well-paid position. In fact, it still isn't. So I presume she comes from a rich background already.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
What? She had them... I don't think this is legal. I don't think that's how hospitals were supposed to work even back then. Like, if it was, I'm not sure if it was, I doubt it, but if it was necessary to actually pay for the bed in a hospital such as this, which seems to be set specifically for the reason of there being a citywide emergency because of the plague, then I doubt a nurse would be collecting that money. Like, it would go to the administration or something.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I don't think this is legal.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Okay.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Okay, again, this is kind of rude to put it like that, so I will not.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Okay.
Don't take anything from her.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
I didn't know there was an option to move the camera around in dialogue.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time. You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True, true. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Okay.
Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
You don't have to worry about me, Dr. Reed. I am here to assist you, not to be a burden.
Okay. I think that's all.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Yeah, that is actually a very good point, because it's an important sort of a paradigm shift in medicine, where I believe at this time, the beginning of the 20th century, it was still like common, and it was the advised approach to be like really detached from your patient and treat them basically, as he said, as a sort of a biological machine that's malfunctioning and that you need to repair, basically. Whereas this guy is proposing something more akin to current sort of medical paradigm of treating your patient as a human being who's suffering, and you want to help him, but to do that you must not only concentrate on the technical aspect of his suffering, but also on the human aspect of his, for example, psychology and his emotions, and why, how does he feel while he's suffering, and maybe help him by providing, a bit of conversation or caring about his issues or something, because it has been actually proven by medical science that your state of mind has an impact on the process of recovery from illness or from injury. And basically, if you're more positive about your own sort of chances, then they are actually better. Okay, I think I asked everything for now.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Is there anything else that's bothering you? Can I help in any way?
I'm all right. Considering the state of this place, I should consider myself lucky, I guess.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is, I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable, and your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is...
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
My sweet girl.
So many deaths.
Reads me like a book.
Still more coming.
I'll never forgive
How can we be
anything
sure
from
we're
her.
making a difference?
Okay, I think I talked with him.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
Yeah.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Okay, so let's continue through the hospital then.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
I guess, I'm not a doctor myself, and I'm not even a researcher, so I don't know the exact process of, introducing a new method of treatment. But I guess he has a point in that it shouldn't be done, sort of on a day-by-day basis. Like, it's not like one day they just simply switched to a whole different method of treatment. It should be, what's the word? Preceded by some rigorous testing. So I guess he has a point in that. But on the other hand, if you, as I said, if you always stick to the old tried and proved quote-unquote method, then you never are going to see any improvement. So it's difficult to tell, I guess.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate.
I just stole somebody's letter from his own corpse. That's kind of rude. Dear love, I finally found the missing money for the fee they asked. For the fee asked by the ambulance driver to bring you to the hospital. Don't worry about nothing now, except getting better, for I took care of everything. I asked some of our neighbors, and they told me that this Mr. Hooks is something of an honest crook. He may ask for extra money in exchange for a bed, but the bed is then guaranteed. I'm sorry I refused to pay first, and I realize how now that the important thing is that you get better soon. The Pembroke Hospital is a good place, I heard. Despite the bad behavior of this Milton Hooks, I promise that everything is okay now. Oh, damn it. Everything is okay now. I will see you in a clean bed as soon as possible. With fondest love, Nicole. Well, I guess it didn't work out for them because he's dead. So, there is that. Okay, I'm pretty sure I didn't talk with him.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Well, I think she's actually dead. Because I'm pretty sure I killed her, right? When I drank her blood.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is, we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Do you need medical attention?
I'm feeling all right, Doctor. But perhaps it is because I, too, am used to the smell of the dead.
Okay.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful.
This formula, written on a piece of paper, seems complex. It needs to be analyzed. I don't really have that much money to throw away on frivolities.
It never ceases to amaze me how you, the dead, seem peaceful and lost at the same time.
It's locked, all right.
Okay, let's explore the rest of the hospital, because I never even got to the end of this wing. Hospital full, I read that. Okay, it's just another exit, I guess. So let's go to the other wing. It would be more useful if it displayed the NPC's name before I talked to them.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. war injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
To be honest, as a mutilated war veterans go, he looks pretty great. Like, I assume this is after his facial reconstruction, but if you look at those World War I era facial reconstruction surgeries, they are kind of disconcerting, because people look as if, because obviously it wasn't perfected back then. In fact, it was only sort of starting, and I guess it's still preferable to like missing half your face. But there are those very those very famous photos of people having like almost, it looks like a mask made of flesh, like a plaster of flesh on their face, and it was an inspiration for the splicers in BioShock, one of those photographs. I'm going to post a couple in the description, but specifically there is one where a guy has like a skin graft on his face, and his eye is like very deep in...
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Oh, damn it, I didn't want to do that. His eye is like very deep in this sort of skin graft, so it's almost like in a hole. Like, it's almost like he has a hole in his face, not an eye socket per se, but it's like a hole in a, you know, in a mask, and then his eyes is beneath.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
Yeah, he's probably right.
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all. While I'm busted on the outside. Pushy.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of my blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patients.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
Is she mentally disturbed though? So maybe she is a vampire, you know. I guess that's the point of this quest within this particular setting.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Damn.
here again.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
So he's a priest, then. Judging by the usage of the word flock and the fact he has a prominent cross.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Dooth Digby.
Did Clay Cox die? Because he was assumed... I assumed he was admitted to this very hospital. After all, he did want me to help him.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really. But I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel... empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later. I cannot enter.
Okay. I did talk with her, right?
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
Do you need medical help yourself, nurse?
I'm fine, really. I just need to sleep.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
How would you describe the situation?
I asked that already.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
No, to be honest, with that attitude, you're not going to go far. Like, if you assume from the start that everything you do is pointless, you will actually do worse, you know, subconsciously, because if you don't believe in the value of your own efforts, then why even try particularly hard? So I don't think it's a great attitude.
I don't like your attitude, Nurse Hawkins. Pessimism can be as lethal as the epidemic in times like these.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Okay, actually,
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
I actually have a couple of questions to ask the ambulance driver, provided I can actually find him. But I guess he at least stays in place, presumably near his ambulance or something. Although this doesn't look like an ambulance to me, but what do I know?
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Tell me why you're extorting money from some of the patients here.
If a patient wants a bed, he'll have to pay me a little fee. That's all.
Where did you get the idea for such an immoral scam?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed me to get a bed. It's only then I realized I could make a fortune.
Well, isn't there a way to, like, rebuke him for that? Like, I don't think you should be doing that. It's obviously scummy as frick, especially given the fact that when people are dying, they will presumably give you anything just for a hope at being saved. So, you know, it's not as if it's a flat charge. It's not as if it's a private hospital with a flat charge and with the money going towards making the care better. It's literally just this guy personally extorting money from sick people. So Why is there no option to make him stop or something?
Tell me why you're... Where did...
Funny.
It's kind of annoying.
Goodbye, Milton. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening.
What? I didn't...
Goodbye, Milton.
Wasn't planning to talk to...
Good evening.
What?
Good evening.
What's happening?
Goodbye, Milton.
I'm not clicking it. Again.
Perhaps I should have considered the
Okay, let's go upstairs. Oh, no, there's still this, I guess. Let's just go outside. My own office is on the second floor. Or rather on the first floor, I guess? I don't exactly remember. But I'm going to explore everything anyway, so the exact answer hardly matters at this point.
Not now. Please come back later.
Okay.
It's locked.
A hacksaw. T. Elwood's medical file. Thomas Elwood, male, age 28. Followed by Dr. Tippett's. Status convalescence. Date of admission September the 16th. Date of release to be determined. The patient's face has been heavily burned and disfigured by a bomb during the war. Even with the use of the strongest sedatives, he affirms to regularly endure severe pain from the wounds, as if the flames are still burning under the skin, he says. Examinations of the cicatrized tissues show no trace of inflammation, infection, or swelling. Scars are clean. Could it be the case of persisting nerve damage? The patient never ceases to blame himself for his disfiguration. Could it be the case of guilt of the survivor, phantom pain manifesting as punishment for not dying with his comrades? Okay. Interesting hypothesis, I guess.
I cannot enter. This must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
Okay, so let's explore it quickly. My own office. Maybe let's try crafting something as well. I would like to craft those cures for fatigue, but I don't. You need to first analyze the components you found to unlock new recipes. Click on the to analyze. Blood sample of William Bishop. Light regeneration serum. Regenerate 300 heal points instantly, then 150 over 15 seconds. Okay, but I don't have enough crafting materials for any of this. Is it two-handed or? Because it's actually, it has the same attack speed as this. It seems unambiguously better than my current weapon.
William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what happened to me. I must keep on searching. The sun is about to rise. I can feel it. I'll continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now. The flower's dying. It needs water.
Article on icons. It is a rare opportunity and almost a privilege to approach a vampire, to observe their most intriguing physical and psychological traits with a scientific and rational eye. Here are some of the most fascinating abilities I have personally observed over the last 10 years while interviewing a few vampires, or icon as they prefer to call themselves. Supernatural speed. A vampire can move and act like a mortal in all of his actions, but the trained eye will spot that they have a keenest sense and can react quicker than any mortal. On a few occasions, alarm, surprise, and the necessity to flee, I have seen a vampire move so quickly it's almost as if it had vanished just to reappear somewhere else. The human eye cannot follow the movements when they act so quickly, but it is not a teleport or dematerialization. It is only a supernatural speed. For me, it is a cat-like attribute which allows them to run, dodge, or jump higher and faster than any of us. I also notice that such speed seems to exhaust them and that they are bound to physical limitations. Mesmerism. One of the most powerful abilities that a vampire can develop is the capacity to force a mortal to obey him. I call this trait mesmerism, but it has nothing to do with the mortal ability to alter a subject's mental state. A vampire can bend a mortal to their will, and then they can break a mind. A vampire I interviewed even told me the more a subject tries to resist, the more permanent the damage will be, as if the vampire could literally fracture the target's psyche. The same vampire explained to me that this ability required some time to master, and that the results could vary very wildly from one subject to another. What? The results could vary wildly from one subject to another. Implant a false memory, erase a painful one. The possibilities are endless and frightening. And lastly, the blood awareness. This might be the most catastrophic ability of all concerning vampires, since it's the cause of so many tragedies for them and us. Vampires crave for blood. They must use their will to restrain themselves from frenziedly drinking every drop of blood they can see. They need blood to function, and they express their full supernatural traits. A famished vampire can be very weak, even if he cannot die of hunger or thirst. The urge, this need for blood, may explain why a vampire is so aroused by it. A vampire confessed to me that blood could sometimes blind him, since its smell and attractiveness can be so strong. When he focuses, a vampire can almost see blood all around them, inside warm bodies, through the walls, on a supposedly clean weapon, etc. The same vampire even told me that he can see a mortal has clean blood or ill, and that in some cases he can even sense diseases, infected clothes, or even items in a room. If this is true, it could have so many medical applications, it almost beggars belief. Okay, so that's actually very cool for a vampire doctor. If I can recognize diseases by, for example, smelling the blood or like looking at it. Dr. Swansea's message. Dear Jonathan, I asked the nurse Crane to secure you an office on a second floor. Please forgive the austere decoration, but Pembroke Hospital is not exactly the Ritz. Sorry to let you discover your office alone, but I need to sleep a little before going back to work. I'm just a mere mortal after all. I also gave orders to let you rest and for the staff to never enter your room. You will be able to sleep all day without being disturbed, and work at night without raising any suspicions. I'm afraid the place is quite messy, but you'll be able to conduct your experiments here at your own pace. And you'll also notice that there is an open window with a scaffolding that will allow you to enter or exit the hospital without being noticed. I imagine how awfully new and disturbing all of this must be for you. Believe me, I have studied enough of your species to understand what you might be facing and feeling. Be assured, I will do everything I can to help in this ordeal. Know that you are not completely alone facing it. I am glad I met you. These dark times we are presently facing. I hope our future collaboration will yield great results. Welcome to Pembroke, my esteemed colleague. We'll talk soon. Yours sincerely, Edgar Griffiths Swansea. I left a copy of some of my notes concerning what I have discovered about Econ during the last few years. Feel free to read it if you might need some guidance, as long as you don't use the knowledge to take advantage of me. Okay. So where is this open window with the access to the scaffolding? See? Sure as hell don't see it.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
I guess for now, let's rest. I have 700 experience. How much for an upgrade in the Shadow Mist, for example? 2000. I have enough for this, I guess. Oh, no, because I don't have high enough of a level. Okay. I guess I will... Level 6 required. I guess I will save for now. Although, you block your target's blood in their veins, making them defenseless. Blood barrier. Absorbing direct damage. Okay, this is potentially useful. I will save the rest of the experience for now until I have more and can upgrade something serious like the shadow spell or something. I guess for now I'll just see if I can talk with Dr. Swansea. Nope, still busy. However, I can go even further up, I guess. Second floor. Oh, I actually can't, because the door is seemingly locked. Okay, so what's my actual current objective? Rest in bed until the next night. Okay, so I have to do it. Which I guess it's tied with leveling up, I think. We'll see shortly. Actually, no. I can rest without leveling up.
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. But what about my thirst for blood?
Well, I guess the answer depends on whether I can drink dead blood, you know, from corpses. Because if I can, then that shouldn't be a problem, because there's a whole bunch of dead people and more are dying every day. so I can probably munch on corpses if it's possible in this universe, which I guess maybe the game will actually address. But for now, I feel like this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to pause it here. I wanted to save, but then I remembered that there is no actual manual saving in this game. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.